Hi, my name is Adam Pangan, and I'm a volunteer here at Magdala. I've been asked to give a short reflection on Matthew 5, verses 38 to 48. But before I do so, I'd like to read two verses from Leviticus 24. In verse 19, it says, "Anyone who inflicts a permanent injury on his or her neighbor shall receive the same in return. Fracture for fracture, eye for eye, tooth for tooth. The same injury that one gives another shall be inflicted in return." We see in Matthew, or actually, let's first read it. So in verse 38, chapter 5, "You have heard that it was said, an eye for an eye, and a tooth for a tooth. But I say to you, offer no resistance to one who is evil. When someone strikes you on your right cheek, turn the other one to him as well. If anyone wants to go to law with you over your tunic, hand him your cloak as well. Should anyone press you into service for 1 mile, go with him for 2 miles. Give to the one who asks of you, and do not turn your back on one who wants to borrow." So we see that Jesus forbids even the proportional retaliation that was described in Leviticus. So does this mean that if someone's physically assaulting you or verbally insulting you, does that mean you just take it? No. Like, we have a right to defend ourselves if someone is like assaulting us. But essentially, God is calling us to a higher level of love, that everything we do should be rooted in love. And why? Because love is infectious. When people see that we respond with kindness, even when they have been unkind to us, it makes them think, like, why is that person like that? Because we know who love is, Jesus himself. And so while volunteering here at Magdala, I'll ask you to consider one way in which you can better love your neighbor, whether it's the people you're living with, it could be washing a dish, or visitors who are coming to visit the site. Maybe it's offering to pray for them, or just having a conversation with a bus driver. Any of these little things can be acts of love. So continuing on, in verse 43, "You have heard that it was said, you shall love your neighbor and hate your enemy. But I say to you, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you, that you may be children of your heavenly Father. For he makes his sun rise on the bad and the good, and causes rain to fall on the just and the unjust. For if you love those who love you, what recompense will you have? Do not the tax collectors do the same? And if you greet your brothers only, what is unusual about that? Do not the pagans do the same? So be perfect, just as your heavenly Father is perfect." So what does perfect mean? Perfect for us doesn't mean that we are flawless. It doesn't mean that we're superior. Perfect for us, it all really comes back to love. And knowing him who is love, Jesus, and depending on him fully. And so, like, God here tells us to love our neighbor and our enemy. So even those who, I don't know, maybe they get on your nerves, or maybe someone's rude to you at the coffee shop, God encourages us to still love them, to still serve them well, because if we aren't doing anything different, then what really differentiates us as Christians? So we are called to this higher level of love, and my hope is that as you spend time more and more with Jesus, that our love can be shown to others in that way.